Yeah, and I don't know why, because it's delicious. Awesome. Unless there was a lot of bad risotto. Maybe that's the reason. All right, let's take a look. He's got two great salads. We have a beautiful one for you folks. It's a butter lettuce. Let's take a look at that, and then look how pretty that is. Tell us a little bit about your butter lettuce salad.
This is basically a salad for those people who just want to come in and have a pre-dinner salad, not too heavy, not a lot of cheese. So we do it. It's hydroponically grown Boston lettuce, away again to keep the grit and the sand out of our food. It's kind of one of our goals, I guess you could say.
Yeah, right.
And it comes with a very simple Dijon and red wine vinaigrette. It's tossed in that, and it's topped with candied pecans, which are just locally grown pecans, and topped with ricotta salata, which is just a ricotta that's very hard, and it's used to grate on top to add a little bit of tang and saltiness to it. And we also finish it with some fresh herbs like tarragon and chives.
Really pretty, but just the vibrancy of the color, and of course, the butter lettuce being just so tender. I mean, so many people just know iceberg and or maybe a little romaine, and that's about it. And or the tradition now, the mixed greens that you buy in the package, which is just so banal.
Right.
When you taste like a bib or I mean, it is like the paradise of lettuces.
One of my favorite lettuces, for sure.
Now he also does the iceberg wedge, which has always been one of my favorites. And tell us about that, even though we have a picture on that.
It's a New Orleans staple. Everybody loves the iceberg wedge, so I decided to do it in a little bit different from that fashion. Nothing too crazy, just nice slices of iceberg with a creamy herb buttermilk dressing. It's basically buttermilk and a little sour cream, and with a bunch of herbs to keep it fresh and light. And then we top it with bacon lardones, tomatoes, and a Roaring 40s blue cheese, which is a little small creamery that makes it one of the best blue cheeses I've ever had.
Really?
So,
and is that local?
That is not local.
Oh, okay.
I don't know exactly where they're located, but it's very small.
Okay, well, great. Yeah, well, that has always been and it's funny how that salad has evolved, because in the old days it was strictly the lettuce. Then they added the onions.
Right.
Then they started with the bacon.
And the blue cheese.
And then they started with tomatoes. I kept saying, and even though it's great for color and taste, this is not
an iceberg. An iceberg wedge is generally
it's broadening the envelope. Anyway, folks, don't forget, if you're interested in speaking to Chef Gruetzke or myself, anything about the show or this restaurant, since it's brand new, give us a call. Our numbers will be on the screen sometime during the show. We'd love to hear from you. Anything we can answer, either about a picture we're talking about or anything you might have a particular druther about. Just there are the numbers for you. Give us a call. Our director will put you through right to us. Okay, now as for soups, you really are putting my favorite as your staple. I don't know if you're going to move away or add others later on right now. So this is a solitary soup, but certainly the best choice, and that is your local gumbo served, what I call it Cajun style, with magnificent potato salad in the center. Let's take a look at the gumbo. And look at that nice roux. Tell us a little bit about your roux and your whole presentation here, please. Ray.
It's a very simple gumbo. I think it's delicious, but it's very simple. Not a whole lot of crazy ingredients in it. I just start with a nice dark roux. Add my onion, celery, garlic, lots of garlic, and cook that down. And then I just simmer it for a couple hours, and with a couple spices and salt and stuff like that. And
is this seafood or chicken with soup?
I add in andouille, which is
great,
spicy.
Great. Everybody knows andouille, so I'd love down here.
Roasted turkey, and then I make my own duck confit, which is a cured, slow cooked duck leg. Yeah, it's a nice little fatty piece of meat in there.
And let's talk about the potato salad. How do you what do you nowadays we've got so many genres of potato salad. Is it the traditional type mayo, or is it non-mayo?
It is a mayo.
Looks like it got a little mayo base
in there. And then it's just it's little mayo, little green onions, and little horseradish.
Not ultra sweet, I hope.
No, not sweet at all.
Someone put that.
No, it's not very sweet.
Dessert potato salad.
Absolutely not.
One other question I'm always asking people, and myself too, because I'm not too fond, is do you put okra in this gumbo?
I do not.
Good.
Traditionally, you only put either okra, or you put roux, or you put filet. It's traditionally a thickener, and people, I think it's.
But nowadays, it's blended all over. So unless you ask, you don't know.
Right. Everybody puts everything in there, so I try and keep it a little more traditional with one of the thickeners.
With one of them, excellent, excellent, beautiful. Okay, all right. Again, we're talking, folks, to Chef Ray Gruetzke, who's opened Route 127 at 127 North Carrollton, right off of Canal on the streetcar route, right next to, and what we didn't mention about parking, because people say, oh, no, park. Of course, in the evening, which all is open right now, there's ample street parking, but I know he said he's got the wonderful, right on the corner is now a Capital One Bank, and They close relatively early, and he has permission for folks to park there, which is just a stepping stone. And then also across the street, there's the new Walgreens, which used to be a grocery store, and that has a humongous parking lot. So even though there's a lot of restaurants now in the new Carrollton Row there of restaurants, there's still ample parking without having to fear you got to walk blocks and blocks and blocks. So take that into consideration. All right, I'm going to go ahead now and start taking a look at some of the entrees. I think we got about 4 of them for you today, so we'll talk about that and any others before we go back to the musician. Let's take a look at the first. And I think this is one which I think is a beauty, and I think you call it an olive oil poached sea bass,
right?
Is that right?
Olive oil poached sea bass comes with
and we don't, down here, other than some of the really specialty fish like fins or something,
right,
you don't see sea bass that
right.
often.
It's a nicer fish, and right now with the way the Gulf is, I kind of had to venture away from my bread and butter and my
right,
local fish just because
right,
of the price and things like that. So I decided to source out, and I got a really nice sea bass. It comes with a house-made fettuccine. We make all of our stuff in house, and it comes just a very light dish. Comes with a nice basil and pecan pesto with some olive oil and some haricot vert, and make it a very simple, light dish for those people who don't want to have a big, hearty meal. It's
right, and you'll see that fish, even though it looks very thick, and but just the opposite. It's very light. I mean, it's not a heavy fish at all. So now, are you grilling it, sautéing it?
I poach in olive oil, and then I just kind of throw it in a hot pan. Nice
just
brown,
to get that little brown, beautiful brown on it. Yeah. Okay, excellent. So, folks, if you haven't tried this fish, I think you're in a pleasant surprise because it is, like I'm saying, very, very light, and we just don't really get much of this type fish down here. So, if you have the opportunity, you want to digress from some of the others that he has ample supply, this would be a lovely choice. Okay, now let's take a look at another one, and I believe the next one is it this? I forgot what order we got. No, what we have here.
It's the salmon.
The salmon, huh?
Yes.
All right. And what are we grilling it, or what are we doing on this salmon?
We pan sear it, get a nice brown color on it, and then we coat it in a little Dijon mustard and herbs.
Wow.
And then sprinkle some breadcrumbs on it and bake it in the oven to a nice medium, and to where it's nice crispy on top of the breadcrumbs and nice and moist and tender as a medium salmon is.
Now this is a domesticated salmon, huh?
Yes, it is. It's not wild. And then it comes with just a roasted vegetable couscous, which is a type of Middle Eastern pasta, and then a simple lemon butter sauce, and it all goes well together.
What kind of veggies you put in your couscous?
In the couscous, depends what I can get fresh from my purveyors. Right now I have some nice baby carrots and some roasted Brussels sprouts and some roasted turnips are in it right now.
Nice selection. Okay, so that's the salmon, which of course is a wonderful fish, and done very, very nicely. And couscous, I think, is a natural supplement to that, even though a lot of places don't serve it. They would serve it with potatoes or spinach, typical cream spinach or something like that, which is okay. But I really think the couscous is just a natural look and also just a great accompaniment. All right, now I think we have one more fish, or did we move into the meat? Let's see what we have coming up. Meat, folks. This is heavy duty for you.
Yes.
Tell us about your pork chop here.
This is a thick double cut pork chop. I use USDA prime pork loin, so it's nice and tender and flavorful. And it comes on top of a couscous, which is traditionally a Cajun dish of last night's cornbread with some breakfast sausage and some syrups. It's very sweet, but I kind of take it and make it a savory thing. So it's kind of It's a very
that's good.
Very silky and smooth and kind of like almost like a spoonable cornbread type thing. And it's topped with a red pepper jus made from some pork stock, and it's very delicious. And it comes with crispy shallots on top for a little crunch with some herbs. So it's a little salty, a little sweet.
You got some great combos going on there.
Right.
Excellent. And so, but look at the size of that, folks. I mean, if you're a pork chop lover, you can't beat that.
It is a meal in itself, for sure. For sure. I don't want you to go home hungry, because then no one's happy at that point.
No one's happy. That's right. All right. I think we have one more picture, and that's the one of my favorites, the duck breast. I think that's next. Is that right? Let's see. Yeah. Go ahead and tell us about this pretty.
Yeah. This is Maple Leaf Farms duck breast. I take it, I render the skin really crispy on one side.
Good, great.
Flip it over, I serve it mid-rare, and it comes with and then I glaze it in a Louisiana citrus, kind of like a marmalade type thing. So it's a little sweet and salty and crispy with the duck skin, and it comes with caramelized fennel and just a simple potato puree with a little bit of butter and salt and pepper. Just let the duck speak with the nice citrus.
Beautiful. Again, too many of the duck places are really just doing like the duck legs, which are very moist and all,
Right.
but to me, the breast, if you get a good, especially it sounds wonderful with the crispiness side, that is really excellent. So definitely that's one to be tried. Now, I think that's all the entrees. We have pictures for you folks. Let's see, what did we do? 4? I think there was 4. Salmon, pork chop.
I think that was all.
Yeah. But let's talk about some of the others, because we do have a little bit more time before we move into the, actually we have a lot of time until we move into the musician. So let's see. We know you've got some steaks, but before we go into that, roasted chicken, which I don't know why we didn't. Well, we didn't take pictures. Ray was nice enough to provide these excellent quality photographs, so I would have also included roasted chicken. To me is just key if you can, if you get a good one. So tell us something about your roasted chicken. Is it a breast or?
It's a half of a chicken.
Half?
We actually get in, about 3-pound farm-raised chickens, free range, and then we roast them very simply with a little salt and pepper, oil, crisp up the skin really nice, and then we break them down for you. So on the plate you get some nice roasted Brussels sprouts. On top of that you get, a duck breast and the duck leg, and we just crisp up both the skins for you. And then it's served with a rosemary and Dijon jus, which is a little light and just keeps it moist and stuff like that. And it comes with house-made mac and cheese, which is really creamy and stuff. So it's really good combination of the crispy skin with the creamy mac and cheese.
Oh yeah, mac and cheese. Yeah, I hardly think that's. That's everyone's basis desire, but
Right.
It's kind of like everybody's afraid to admit to eating it. That
Yeah.
What about? Let me ask you. Back to before we talk about a couple of the other entrees. When you roast like your Brussels sprouts or anything like that, are you talking about just in a pan, like a sheet pan? What kind of is it? Olive oil? What kind of ingredient? How do you do it? Is it just? Some people say they roast, but they're really just grilling them.
Usually
on top
when
of
I
a grill.
roast my vegetables, a lot of them, I do like to roast the vegetables because nice caramel color, gets a nice flavor developed out of them. I get a really hot pan with usually a little olive oil and a couple cloves of garlic and a couple sprigs of thyme, nice and aromatic, and then I just throw them in there, get them nice and brown, and then I throw them in a really hot oven to get it all caramelized and crispy on the outside and still tender on the inside. Just a little bit of salt, very simple. Let the vegetables speak for themselves because, if you use the best vegetables, it's going to be good anyway.
They're going to scream to you.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's excellent. But I have to say, people say now roasted vegetables, and a lot of them are doing these things, but when you hear about it, it's not really roasting. And like I say, there's one place I know they keep calling it roasting, but really they just, I guess I don't see what they do before they put it on, but they just put it on the wood-burning grill, you know. And I mean, it's got a flavor of its own, there's no doubt, but I don't consider that roasting. It's grilling to me. Right. But anyway, so, but I think it's a wonderful thing that we finally, I could never eat Brussels sprouts as a kid, and until I tasted them roasted, and now
I didn't
I
like
love
them as a kid either, actually.
Isn't it amazing?
I never used to eat them.
The only thing good about getting old is that your taste expands.
My mom would try and serve them to me. They'd all end up on my dad's plate. So it's kind of...
Or the dog.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of shied away from them. And then
they didn't like them.
Eventually just found out, a really great way to cook them.
It's amazing because, I don't think any of our families in the old days knew how to, they would just steam them or boil them or whatever they did, and it just was absolutely horrible. So I'm so pleased I can eat a Brussels sprout because it was for years off my palate. Right. Okay, let's talk about that. Of course, there's always, even though we're not a steakhouse, you got to have, just like you got to have chicken, you got to have steak. But you got a couple of them for us, I believe, huh?
Yes.
Let's talk about which ones you have and go from there for the folks.
I have a pan-roasted filet. I do because, I love filet. It's nice and tender and flavorful. It's choice. All of our beef is choice beef. And we just roast it in a pan with some, butter, thyme, rosemary, and garlic. And we crisp it up, get a nice pan sear on it, and then roast it in the oven in the pan. Usually I like to prefer to serve it mid-rare. And it comes with potatoes fondant, which is basically a potato that's been kind of poached in butter with a ton of herbs and a ton of garlic. And then we brown that up so it's nice and crispy on the outside and kind of nice and silky on the inside. And it comes with some roasted mushrooms because steak and mushrooms are kind of match made in heaven.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we top it with a red wine jus, which is basically a little veal stock, a little bit of nice red wine, reduced down into a nice, thick sauce on top for that steak.
Well, no, before we touch on the other steak, folks, don't hesitate to give us a call. As we said, the directors put those numbers up because, we're going through these kind of rapidly, and hopefully you're following it. just great presentations, and a wonderful new chef here on the scene. So don't hesitate to call us back if you have a question on something we've said, and maybe we didn't cover it either in depth or just was too quick for you. Let us know, or anything else you want to know about it. But before we go on, we got two more on